can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever.
OOZI 9mm.
Until you are dead.
The Terminator recently celebrated its 40th anniversary. The OOZI didn't feature for all that long, although it made a lasting impression following that infamous scene with the greatest action star in existence, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was able to see this film at the View Cinema, remastered in 4K, and it was sensational. While some scenes looked a little bit too polished, it didn't take away from the experience. How you doing everyone? Bada Bing here, and today I'm reviewing the Northeast Airsoft MP2A1 gas blowback submachine gun. Thank you for tuning in. 2 years ago I made a first impressions video on this OOZI, and here comes my review. I think it's quite fitting that this serves as both a celebration of the 1984 sci-fi horror The Terminator and a 2 years later review. I do prefer to take my time when reviewing things, which is just as well because the condition in which I received this MP2, it was in no fit state to even consider reviewing. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. I only make gas blowback airsoft related content as I find them far more exciting than any other type of airsoft gun. So if you're on the same page and you like this type of thing, why not join me and subscribe? Also, I have started my own thing to go along with this YouTube channel. I give you Bada Bing Coffee. Yes, I am a coffee roaster and I produce small batches of ethically sourced, single origin coffee that is personally roasted by me. You can help support the channel further by buying a bag of Bada Bing Coffee. So, whether you're a medium roasted all day drinker, or you prefer a strong dark roast to widen your peripheral vision in the mornings, you can find the link below and try for yourself. Also, for a limited time I'll throw in one of these super cool OOZI 9mm stickers to commemorate this video, while stocks last. Now, the MP2. As it's been well over 2 years, this OOZI has been an experience to say the least. I really should have listened to my QC inspector when I first got it. Yeah, it's been a traumatic time for version 1 owners. I think even Northeast themselves will admit that they made a grave error following the release of the MP2. To their credit, Northeast have addressed their problems and are now doing well at improving the system. Here's their history of updates since its inception, so to this day they're still improving where they can. I received the initial batch version 1, and the only thing that they did right was make it look like an MP2. I might as well have bought a deactivated OOZI. I made a video which explained those early issues and what I did to eliminate them, which you can see on the card here. As indicated in my first impressions video, the overall appearance is amazing. The MP2 is one of the most realistic airsoft guns I own, and it gets way better when you wrap your hands around its heavy steel frame. The thing is a brick, and the only metal piece on its surface which is not made of steel is the selector switch. The finish is a grey parkerization that is rough to touch. I love how the dull grey hue reacts to the changes of light and how those stampings play around with the shadows as the light interacts with it. It is stunningly authentic.
The UZI 9mm.
You know your weapons, buddy. Any one of these is ideal for home defense.
Now the plastic furniture is excellent too. Its nylon polymer is firm and textured similarly to the real thing. It has exquisite attention to detail. The construction is super sturdy, apart from the folding stock, but those are always going to have some slop to them. It is a glorious invention now. I love how it folds into itself, and how awesome it looks in its stowed configuration, although it really is not comfortable to use at all. A polymer stock would be a worthy addition, if I could find one. The functions alone would make a great sensual ASMR video. It's such a spine-tingling experience. The clicks, the clacks and hollow clunks are quintessential gun noises that hit the spot. It all does what it's supposed to do, and nothing is sloppy. It's ruggedly reassuring. The iron sights are the most annoying sights I've used. The rear peep sight is so difficult for me to look through, it's like staring through the eye of a needle. So usually I just glance over it and focus on the point on the front post and go from there. The top cover has been annoying, as the spring that arms the ratchet system has connected with the bolt on numerous occasions. It got to the point where it blocked the bolt from cycling, and each time I had to bend it back upwards. For me, I see little value in keeping it installed for the ratchet section, so if it does it again I'll just rip it out. Because the initial release MP2 used an undersized disconnector, sometimes it wouldn't fire, just drop the bolt. So an early solution involved bending the back plate of the top cover to force the bolt down, enabling it to trip the mechanism and allow it to fire. Northeast rushed out improved parts to version 1 owners, and I forgot to bend the top cover back, hence why I was likely having issues with the ratchet spring. You can see the marks on the bolt where it was moving against it. You live and learn. The magazines are one major source of all my UZI's unreliability, and that's mainly because they are from the very first batch. Once I had received the free upgrade baseplate, which stopped the inner gas tank from shifting downwards when charging gas, the problem with feed jams still persisted, despite the new polymer follower on the Batch 2 Improvements package. The magnitude of disappointment cannot be measured when an SMG that looks this good has such tragic success in completing a magazine without jamming. It beheads any kind of joy you may feel. All of my magazines experienced feed jams of varying degrees. The main cause was the exposed ledge, which would hinder the travel of the follower, so I took a small hand file to those areas which stuck out from the gas tank, along with sanding down the polymer followers to help them glide easier. Unfortunately, I had limited success, as 2 of my followers were getting caught up every time. On one magazine in particular, I made it worse by taking off too much material, so the BB stacked up side by side, further worsening the problem. To fix my mistake, I cut a notch onto the follower, which staggers the BB's position. This helped. On the latest batch, Northeast revised their magazine design once again, and now it uses a pin to secure the gas tank within the housing. Now we can be sure the gas tank is at that optimal ride height for a tight gas delivery. On previous iterations, I played about with shimming the baseplate with pieces of an old ID card. This helped concentrate and tighten its gas flow with the nozzle. Obviously, this opened up its own problems when the nozzle would run into a thick piece of rubber, so I sliced in a ramp during my trials. I'd say the results were mixed. And that coincidentally leads me onto the other new improvement with the new magazines, which lies in its enhanced gas route. There's no room for error now. They've standardized the engagement, leaving no wiggle room. Great. Finally, they've paid more attention to the follower, so now this portion of the Northeast UZI is finally complete. In terms of their design, it's quite a simple system. The two-piece gas tank can be taken apart within minutes, and the gas seals have been 100%. No issues relating to gas leaks at all. The dry fire mode is useful too, only you cannot activate it without tools. The capacity can be increased beyond its 32 rounds by removing the limiter inside the BB channel, and this bumps up the capacity to 45 rounds. Lastly, the weight of the magazines are pleasing too. If you wanted to use this with a boatload of spare magazines, it's not going to weigh you down too much. Accessing the hop-up system requires you to strip out the barrel. Convenient if you're not busy, but if you are trying to adjust on the fly, while Kyle Reese is shooting back at you, it is a bit annoying. The hop-up and barrel is TM gas blowback spec. I've been using the stock parts for the majority of my time with the UZI, and I've never bothered to look into its capabilities too much, and that's purely because it's never been at a point where I could happily use the thing. Reliability issues have always gotten in the way. Once I got this thing functioning correctly, I saw that the rubber would need, for lack of a better term, warming up before it began to apply hop-up correctly. This wasn't a bedding in issue, this was an event which would occur every time I'd pick up the UZI to shoot. The first few shots would dive bomb, and the more I got into the magazine, it started to slowly lift them up to appropriate levels. Now here is after it had warmed up. See? It's fine. Accuracy wise though, it was hopeless. I would have been embarrassed to take this to a game.
Hey!
Thankfully, it wasn't an issue resulting from other components, just secluded to the rubber, so it's been replaced with one from a Tokyo Marui gas blowback pistol. At the time of recording this, Northeast have just revised their hop-up rubber. It's now a 60-degree rubber, and they claim to have seen positive results. Unfortunately, as I received it late in the game, I didn't have an opportunity to take it for a spin before publishing this video. Looking inside this SMG, and we come to the bolt carrier, which is made of a light aluminium material. The bad news is that it makes the recoil sensation less than ideal, and any jolt it may produce is absorbed by the sheer weight of the stamped steel body. The steel receiver is rather strong and cannot be flexed or squeezed without exertion. The good news is though that the lightweight bolt allows for that fast rate of fire, and I kinda suppose that's actually more bad news depending if you want that realistic slow rate of fire. Northeast introduced a thick rubber recoil buffer upon releasing the MP2. It short-stripped the action, which delivered an insane rate of fire, although later iterations reduced its length. The newer recoil buffer would help increase the cyclic speed of the heavy steel bolt, however, as mine is aluminium, I don't need it. The bolt carrier has two steel reinforcements that engages with the trigger mechanism, so you shouldn't have an issue. To this day it remains 100%, and with 2 years of plinking, they're in wonderful shape. Likewise, those opposite trigger components have their signs of use too, although they're still holding firm, no cause for concern. This is the batch 3 nozzle, and since I installed it, I saw a more reliable cyclic action. The standoff spring is not standard with this one, I put that in. The consistency of the shot pattern was devastatingly bad without it. It helped so much that Northeast themselves added this feature to their 2024 design. You'll see the results later. The lower grip frame? Nothing really to say, apart from the takedown pin being a bugger to remove at first. Because there's not a whole lot to go wrong here, all the parts are steel, and periodic maintenance is advisable. Although I give it barely any love and attention, it still works okay. With the grip frame off, the valve striker assembly is exposed and comprised of various fiddly parts, which can be awkward to reinstall if you've had them apart. Out of the three major control components, the disconnector and valve striker are the only steel components. The valve knocker frame is made of cheese. It's not in bad shape, but you can see its mileage. The tip of the valve striker itself has some distinct gouging going on, and it's only focused on one side. The position is a fraction offset, hence why its damage is only on one side.
Traversing your sector in search mode. 750 meters north your position.
Now we come to collecting data from the Chrono. With the 2s, the numbers began within the 340s, and proceeded to hover up and down from the 330s, 320s and the 10s. This helped to produce an uneven terrain on the graph. The highest recorded reading was 350.2 and the lowest being 316.7. The average was 330.7 FPS. Now, the highest dual output was 1.13 and the lowest was 0.93. As you see, its impression on the graph was quite sporadic. Moving on to the 3.2s, and the FPS maintained a steady course. The highest reading didn't break 300 FPS barrier, it was at 293.6. For a gas gun, it was quite strange to have the final shot at almost the identical reading as the first, 284.4 and ending at 284.2. The average was 285.7. Now reading the joules with those 3.2s, and we see it maintain comfortably below 1.3 joules. On the graph, it isn't falling quite as the same as the 2s, although it still has a few peaks and valleys throughout the cycle of readings. Looking at the FPS with 3.2s, it's the straightest line out of the series. How far can it go on one charge of gas? Keep in mind this data is gathered within a controlled environment with one shot per second. If you're taking this to an airsoft dance floor near you, your results may vary. On a 5-second gas charge, which is roughly 10 grams of propane, it fired 70 BBs. The 71st spluttered to a halt. Moving along to 10 seconds, and amazingly it crossed the 100 shot barrier with 5 additional rounds. Then, as much as the magazine could take, which is roughly 25 grams of propane, the UZI shot 114 BBs.
That Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
The UZI doesn't really deliver an astonishing recoil action. Yes, it's spewing the BBs off with a rapid pace, but its aluminium bolt doesn't provide a feedback that's worth bragging about. It's an okay experience. So much so that I found it somewhat difficult to make it look cool for the intro, and there's not a whole lot the bolt can do when it's encased by that heavy steel shell. Slowing it down and you will see it rock forward and backwards with the dropping bolt operation. I think it looks like it moves more than it feels in your hand. It certainly has substantially more feedback than what a KSC Mach 11 would give you, A steel bolt and CO2 would be the one to go for if you want to actually feel something. Fully automatic performance is alright. During mag dumps there is a noticeable decrease in tempo as you get beyond 15 to 20 rounds into the mag, so the UZI is more than capable of emptying the entire magazine in one fell swoop, as long as it's a warm day for those green gas magazines to truly shine. Shooting bursts helps keep a tidy rhythm, and it's really nice as it rattles off. At most, I was only able to get about 2 magazine dumps out of one load of gas. The magazines do best with anywhere from 5 to 7 seconds of propane, and it'll burn off 32 rounds really well, as long as the ambient temperature is agreeable. The slightest hint of cool air, and it will drop the rate of fire quickly into the firing sequence. The trigger action. Now, for an open bolt gun, it's not all that bad. It has a light pull with an overall clunky execution. The take-up is fairly short until you reach that solid edge of the wall. A good snap through that will let off the shot. Now, don't fall into the same trap that many of us do by treating it like you're going for precise, accurate shots, like you would an AR. It's an open bolt machine gun trigger, snatch it back like you mean it. If you pussyfoot around by delicately squeezing it, this typically happens. It's the nature of the sears. As you gingerly pull back the trigger, they will slowly creep down, and once that edge drops below the horizon, there is nothing keeping the bolts held back, and it drops a few times before the trigger resets the sears. According to the batch history, Northeast resolved this on the 3rd batch UZIs, so you shouldn't see this if you buy one new nowadays. If you do still see it, you know what to do. The reset is nice and crisp. It pulls your finger forward under some spring tension, and it's almost at its resting position when you feel and hear the click as it arrives. When it comes to running it fast on semi-auto, it is a tiresome experience. As the reset is almost at the beginning, your finger is having to cover a lot of ground for every single shot, and it's not something that you can expect to be proficient at in a short span of time. You have to look at the overall operating system and purpose of the UZI, and you'll soon find that efficient rapid single shots is not what it's designed to do. The WE-Tech MP5 or VFC MP5 would be something I would select if I want something that can do both fully automatic and clean snappy semi-auto. Cold weather performance with propane is poor. Here at a mere 10 degrees Celsius, and immediately we detect sluggish action. I'm still dropping the 3.2s at 50 meters, which is good news, so if you happen to get into a firefight after a prolonged exposure to a mild chill, you'd still be able to reach out and put heads down, if only for a short moment before swapping to a more insulated magazine. Otherwise, it'll run out of puff at the last 10 rounds or so. Going lower than that to 1 degree Celsius, and that was enough to completely shut the SMG down and vent the propane. Luckily for us, Northeast do make CO2 mags, which will help. Not being a fan of CO2, I didn't invest in those.
We are at 1.9 degrees Celsius. Let's see if the UZI works. hidden the target, but it's pretty much dead. What about the other one? Same temperature. Yeah, 2 degrees Celsius. No. With green gas or propane, the OOZI is best at 20 degrees Celsius or higher. Otherwise, you're better off with black gas or going over to CO2. Sure, you can use HPA, but that's a ridiculously uncool method of propulsion. Tokyo Marui proved that 33 years ago, and it's still relevant today. If you disagree...
Fuck you, asshole.
The bolt stop device is identical to other open bolt gas SMGs, where the BB follower interrupts the bolt travel by bearing the brunt of the loading nozzle arm. This stops the action from repeating and consequently leaves the bolt out of battery. It's unrealistic and an easy way to stop dry firing. So far, both engagement points are holding up okay. More specifically the BB followers and the loading nozzle tip. There is a way around the bolt stop method if you've got it about you. Bananami from HRC Discord invented a clever little mod that drops the bolt once the magazine is empty. In essence, he fashioned a valve lifter. It's super cool, and Northeast really need to take note of this mod. Good work, mate. Accuracy from the MP2 was abysmal to start with. At 20 meters away, with Jeff Bio 3.2s, I had more misses off the page than I had on it. It's ridiculous. But why is it so bad? Essentially, the bolt would be in a position where it would activate the process of gas releasing before the BB had consistently positioned itself within the chamber. You can imagine the impact of this downrange, BBs being underspun or overspun as the cycling begins for the initial shots. Honestly, if I didn't throw like a girl, it would be a surefire method of actually hitting the target rather than shooting. Looking at the positive feedback from community members, enter the standoff spring. This small spring places the nozzle farther forward by several millimeters. Because it's ahead of where it usually rests, the nozzle will strip off the BB and place it into the chamber a moment before the bolt carrier initiates the gas release procedure. I just about managed to capture this process on camera. From the BB's point of view, it comes to a stop right before it is blasted off, rather than immediately being enveloped by a rush of gas as it is chambered. The standoff spring gives it that breathing space to positively take effect from the hop-up and ensures a better journey. I couldn't tell you what spring I'm using, but it's a fairly stiff compression spring from my parts bin. The results are night and day difference. It's like it turned on the accuracy button. There was still some room for improvement, but it felt like a miracle that I was having more BBs hit the paper, and here is where it began to actually make something of a series of groupings. This isn't a new trend with gas blowbacks. WE Tech utilise a standoff spring for their gas blowback open bolt Thompsons, as well as a few others. This is something that Northeast themselves have taken on board and now include this standoff spring on their recent batches, again working to improve their products. Looking to see any improvement with accuracy, I threw in an old Marui gas blowback rubber and the UZI excelled again. It firmly was punching tighter groupings. This is how it should have been. Decent, repeatable, and more importantly, capable. That capability transforms into confidence, and confidence in your equipment is everything. Okay, I might be a little ambitious with this range test. However, even in its original form, it managed to launch 3.2s out to an astonishing 70 meters. Now, hitting someone would be a miracle at that range. It's still in the SMG category, along with its long narrow gas tank.
Therefore, it is totally out of its element when you ask it to take shots at distances as great as this, but as you see here, the early rendition has displayed something I never would have expected, even to the point of overhopping those 3-2s as well. I was also surprised that fully automatic bursts are being blasted out to that end of the range. I reckon I was extremely lucky to get that one hit on the lower torso. What a monumental achievement for an SMG which has such poor precision out of the box. I did take a spin with the Tokyo Marubi rubber and it was consistently closer, but it is the wrong time of the year to be recording these range tests for gas guns.
And it's making it all the way over there. The Northeast OOZI MP2 gas blowback SMG. Among the list of positive things they were able to achieve, I think the finest example is the external construction and finishing. It looks real, it feels real. If you hand it to someone that has no prior experience, and immediately their hand descends as you transfer the weight of this SMG over to them, and you will see the impressed look upon their face. Front to back, top to bottom, the steel build of this gun is everything. Northeast did a great job, it's so sexy. The working parts and fire control components have proven to be durable as of this post 2-year mark. There's nothing to say, but its core system is a robust one. The green gas 32 rounders have that ability to unlock a higher capacity. 45 rounds to a mag is a wonderful ability, as is the dry fire mode. The basic disassembly of the internal parts and components for maintenance and such were executed marvellously. It's an easy SMG to work on. So if you are new to gas blowbacks, it would be a stupidly easy system to get your head around. Their decision to use gas blowback type inner barrels and rubbers is a fine one, so you shouldn't have any issues finding compatible upgrades for accuracy enhancements. Even with its original parts, the hop-up was able to lift 3-2s to achieve 70 meters on early range tests, with a little more left on the wheel to go. Despite those issues I saw before the TM rubber upgrade, it at least shown me that it had a faint whisper of capability in it. Northeast have taken the trouble to cater for both aspects of the gas blowback community by giving us options of high speed efficiency with the aluminium bolt, and on the other end of the spectrum with the steel bolt and companion CO2 magazines to help drive the heavier action. Then there's also some real steel compatibility. However, I really didn't get the chance to explore those options due to limited availability and generally having to wrestle with this MP2 simply to get it to work, and with that we arrive at the cons. The Northeast MP2 version 1 takes second place as my worst airsoft gas blowback of my entire career, right behind the VFC HK417. The initial stoppages, the shot inconsistencies, poor accuracy, and magazine-related feed jams are what made this the worst purchasing decision I've made for a while. As devilishly handsome as it is, because it is jaw-dropping, I'm sorry to say that the action with the aluminium bolt is bland. It won't move you. Also, the gas system itself feels lazy, there's no spark to it. To look at this SMG, you'd think to yourself, man, that thing must be thrilling to shoot. Nope. Even on a mildly chilly day, its performance is poor. On my unit with its brand new third batch nozzle with the factory fitted standoff spring, the blowback is hindered when the temperature is below 15 degrees Celsius. It's an expensive purchase in general, although to be fair, small individual components are super cheap. It's just the initial cost of these SMGs is still high. For the same price or cheaper, you could find something that is twice the fun, and furthermore something that is well established and highly upgradable. The bolt stop method that these open bolt guns adopt just doesn't do the realistic platform justice. It simplifies the system, yes, but like the VFC MP5, it's an underwhelming compromise in an otherwise magnificent looking specimen. Despite no signs of wear, I still don't like the bolt dropping onto the follower like that. Part support isn't where it should be. You can contact them directly for parts, although I think we'd all prefer to visit a well-known and established website and add what we need to the cart. I don't want to wait around for a response from a manufacturer that might not even respond anyway. My own experience has been overall positive when I do reach out to them, but they just cannot maintain this for every single customer that buys into the brand, hence why it's important to have everything you need from a trusted source or sources. This system has gone through some growing pains since its release, and I can firmly say that, for me, it wasn't worth the investment. Most of us early customers received a paperweight, and this shouldn't happen in the first place. Northeast have made concentrated efforts to correct these mistakes, and looking at the current reactions from the community, those efforts have yielded brilliant results, and that's great to hear. Now, I used to enjoy these opportunities to overcome the obstacles that manufacturers bestowed upon us, to offer videographical guidance for everybody, but now I'm in a state of mind where I don't want to mess around with anything. If they cannot get it right and release something that operates its core parameters, I'm not getting involved. I'm sending it back. I see scores of posts online from new players out there that spend a ton of money on these things and have unknowingly stepped foot onto a minefield. They need a fixer-upper like they need a case of chlamydia. They, and we, deserve something that works, so the only thing we have to worry about is running out of ammo. With all the revisions Northeast introduced in mind, it should be a great subgun to invest in now, especially so if you love the classic UZI 9mm. Only thing I'll highly suggest is that if you live somewhere that has a tendency for cold weather, acquire CO2 mags. In regards to my particular UZI, which has had its fair share of tweaks to bring it up to date, I'd say take my review as a cautionary historical tale. Beware of the version 1 gun.
What day is it? The date?
12 May, Thursday.
What year?
What do you got?
That girl.
Sarah Connor.
Yes?
2 hours ago, 35-year-old Sarah Ann
Brutally
Connor
shot to death in her home this afternoon.
You're dead, honey.
Are you aware that these two killings occurred in the same order as your listings in the phone book?
Jacob, this is Sarah. Pick up if you're there. I'm at this place on Pico Boulevard called Tech Noir. I'm really scared.
Nice night for a walk, eh?
Did you reach the next girl yet?
No, just getting an answer machine.
Nice night for a walk.
Just touch the trigger, the beam comes on, and you put the red dot where you want the bullet to go. You can't miss.
Come with me if you want to live. I'm Reese. Sergeant Ted Cobb, DN 38416, assigned to protect you. You've been targeted for termination.
that, man. Just get up after you did.
Not a man. Machine.
And this computer thinks it can win by killing the mother of its enemy.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Happy 40th birthday to The Terminator. This film is a masterpiece of the sci-fi action horror genre. I hope you guys have enjoyed the theme of this video, and it has made you want to see it for the 10,000th time. While some of the special effects are ridiculous by today's standards, there's something so unnatural and also frightening about the way it comes across on screen, and that's another great thing about it. The very premise of this unstoppable killing machine is actually horrifying, something all the sequels failed to deliver. But let's be real, there's only one sequel, and Judgment Day was another masterclass of action movies. If you ever have the chance to see The Terminator on the big screen, you've got to do it, trust me. Thanks for watching the video everyone, it's been a pleasure building this review for you. If you'd like to see me return with a part 2 where I look into that super heavy steel bolt and CO2 magazines, let me know in the comments. If I get enough requests, I'll see what I can do. The OOZI 9mm stickers are available with every order of Bada Bing Coffee while stocks last, so you'll have a great single origin and some awesome looking Terminator swag to accompany it. Check out my website in the description. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Like, share and subscribe to Bada Bing Pictures. I have plenty more gas blowback content on the horizon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, my friends.
I'll be back.